Hi everyone, this is Scott Dudley from Funnel Fellow Radio, and today my special guest is Nathan Hirsch, who along with his business partner has built up an Amazon business to over $25 million in total sales, and also scaled a freelance marketplace called FreeUp to 8 figures per year, which was eventually acquired in 2019. They decided to combine all their experience and knowledge and put it all into one platform, which is now known as Outsourcing School. Welcome to the show, Nathan. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Scott, I am ready. Thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate it, man. It's awesome to have you on the show. All right, so let's get straight into it. We'll go right back to the beginning, to your background before you sort of knew anything about outsourcing and how you first got into it in the very beginning.
Yeah, I was a broke college kid. I was starting this Amazon business, and the Amazon business started to take off, and I quickly ran out of hours in my day balancing schoolwork and business and friends and all of that. And so I started to hire college kids, and they proved to be pretty unreliable. So I then turned to adults in the real world and wasted some money hiring people for $50,000 a year plus benefits. And then a buddy of mine told me about the Upworks and Fivers of the world. And I hired my first VA and my second VA. And I made some good hires and some bad hires. But over time, I learned so much about hiring virtual assistants that I eventually said, you know what, this is how I'm going to scale my businesses. And now I scale all my businesses just with virtual assistants.
Okay, so it's sort of like a bit of trial and error in the beginning to get the right formula. Is that right?
Yeah, I started being an entrepreneur in 2008, 2009. So a lot of the Facebook groups and the online stuff, at least it wasn't apparent to me that that's where I should learn or get information from. So it was a lot of just trial and error. Even the stuff, I went to school for business, but the stuff that they were teaching me didn't really apply to e-commerce or eventually building freelance marketplaces or anything like that. So I would say the first 5 years of being an entrepreneur, maybe more, were just a lot of trial and error.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so tell me a little bit about the freelance marketplace FreeUp that you've created, and just a brief story of how you managed to scale it. Sort of what was the marketing strategy behind it?
Yeah, it's funny. From the Amazon business, we learned how to hire really well. So when we started FreeUp, we started at the side because there was really no good solution out there for a fast hiring marketplace. It just took forever to post a job, get 100 applicants, interview them one by one, and we wanted something faster. So we started at the side. We knew how to hire. We hired a really great internal team from day one, the same team that was with us when we sold FreeUp 4 years later. But we had no idea how to market, because with Amazon, you give Amazon their 15%, they bring you the customers, and that was it. So we did, again, lots of trial and error, and we went the organic route. We learned to get on podcasts. We learned to create a partnership program, or we would promote other people to our community and vice versa. We learned to network with other entrepreneurs and get to know them and get influencers to eventually promote us, and create an affiliate program that last year paid out over $250,000 in affiliate money to different players. So a lot of it, again, was trial and error. It's like, how do we get in front of other communities of our ideal client with virtual assistants doing 95% of the work? And that's a lot of what we teach with Outsourcing School, like how to get on podcasts with VAs, how to set up a partnership program with VAs, how to do lead generation with virtual assistants. And we really practice what we preach, building FreeUp to 8 figures over 4 years without spending any money on ads.
Okay, cool. So in the end, what were the reasons behind eventually selling FreeUp? Obviously that's a pretty successful business, so it wouldn't have been an easy decision to make to sell it. That's just what I'm guessing.
No, it wasn't easy. And I love FreeUp. I continue to love FreeUp. I still have a great relationship with the new owners and the team there. And the new owners were clients of ours. They reached out to us and they said, hey, we've been using FreeUp for over a year. We love it. We want to get into the VA freelancer space. We bought a bunch of businesses before. We don't want to start it from scratch. So would you be interested in being acquired? And they ended up making us an offer that we felt like was more than fair, if not aggressive. And from there, the due diligence began. They not only had a million questions for us, but we did a lot of due diligence on them. We wanted to make sure that we weren't going to sell the business to someone who was going to drive it into the ground or hurt our relationships or hurt our internal team. And they really checked out. I mean, we got to visit their office in Tampa. We got to meet their team and how they treat people. They had a very startup mentality. Their team loved them. And from there, it was all about how do we make this a win-win for everyone. So we took $500,000 from the sale and gave it to our internal team in the Philippines as part of the deal. And the new owners agreed to that, which they didn't have to do. And from there, we kind of looked at it as a win for us, a win for them, a win for our internal team. And it's tough to turn down something that's a win for everyone.
Absolutely, yeah. So the initial idea for Outsourcing School, though, did that come after you'd sold, or was that already in your head before you sold?
It was not before we sold. I think for the past 4 years, the only thing Connor and I have thought about is FreeUp. We really didn't focus on any other ideas. And when we sold FreeUp, I mean, the first thing was us talking and saying, hey, do we want to keep working together? Are we sick of each other? And luckily he wasn't sick of me. And from there, it was like, all right, what do we want to get into? So we started reading books on real estate and buying and investing in companies and brainstorming different ideas. Meanwhile, people started reaching out to us and asking us if we could teach them our systems, our processes for hiring. And so we ended up creating this system called Cracking the VA Code, which is our hiring process, interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing. And we took that to market. And just because we sold a business doesn't mean that every idea that we come up with is going to be a good one. So we didn't know if people were going to like it or hate it. And luckily people liked it. So then we started coming out with these different formulas and playbooks on how to hire VAs to manage your inbox, to get you on podcasts, stuff like that. And we included it. We kind of started to create it as this membership where if you buy the membership, you get access to everything plus new stuff we come out with. And then our developer from FreeUp, who built the FreeUp marketplace, who was part of the buyout, he came to us and he had been working on this SOP building, standard operating procedure building software that we absorbed into Outsourcing School and started working with him again, called Simply SOP. So now when you become an insider or a member of Outsourcing School, you get access to our hiring process, all of our SOPs, plus our SOP software, and we've kind of been building on it from there.
Okay, so like the target market, is this more for people that are just getting started in business, or is it more for the experienced business owner that already has a bit of experience with outsourcing, or is it sort of for any type of business?
I mean, the cool thing about VAs and what we're doing is it applies to every type of business. Like we've got plenty of members who have hundreds of virtual assistants and they don't need our hiring process, although they might use it to improve, but they like our SOPs or they like our SOP building software. But I would say that our typical client avatar is either someone who has heard about virtual assistants, has never done it before and wants to skip the trial and error, or they've tried to hire and they've really struggled and they want a solution, or maybe they've made some good hires, they've made some bad hires, but those good hires were lucky. They don't really have a system behind it and they're looking for better systems and processes in their business.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right, so most of the people that'll be listening to this will be sort of either funnel builders or funnel agencies. So what advice would you have for them to start outsourcing from the very beginning if they've sort of got no experience, which is sort of a bit like me?
Yeah, I mean, my goal for everyone is to get 5 hours a week back. Figure out what the easiest task is that you do 5 hours every single week. It could be bookkeeping. It could be managing your inbox. It could be just recording data. I mean, you should have KPIs for your business. How many clicks, how many people are grabbing your lead magnet and just recording them in a document for your team to review every single week. So figure out what those easy tasks are and figure out how do I get 5 hours a week back. And from that experience, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to trust VAs more. And from there, you can increase your hours and grow on top of that and hire a second VA, increase that VA's hours to 10, hire full-time, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, at the moment, I've got an assistant for 10 hours a week and that's working out really well. So hopefully as I grow, I'll be able to increase it a bit more. But for me, that's been a good sort of starting point, the 10 hours, because that takes a lot off my plate.
Yeah, agree. That's definitely a good starting point.
Yeah. All right. So what about managing costs and return on investment? So I'd imagine the biggest challenge here getting started with outsourcing would be sort of balancing the outgoing costs with the incoming revenue, as well as managing the performance of the staff as well.
Yeah, I mean, we have a free VA calculator. If you go to outsourceschool.com/VA calculator, and I agree, like you should do the math up front before you hire someone. And if you think about it, a 5 hour a week virtual assistant over the course of a year costs you about $1,300. So for the average entrepreneur who has a client base who's making money, they can afford $1,300 to get 260 hours a week back. That's like 6 weeks back in your year. Most people's time is worth more than $1,300 for 6 weeks in the year. But from there, you should be budgeting. You should know, hey, how much is a full-time VA going to cost me? How much is a 10-hour week VA going to cost me? The average VA costs between $5 to $10 an hour, and you don't want to fall into a situation where you invest time and money into someone only to realize you can't afford them and have to reduce their hours or let them go. So there's a certain amount of planning where you need to figure out, how much do I actually make consistently every month? What percentage of that? I like to invest about 20 to 30% into hiring. Should I invest into hiring? And then it's all about, hey, what am I going to do with this virtual assistant for 10 hours a week?
Yeah, makes sense. All right. So tell us about one of your most successful experiences with a virtual assistant and the results they're able to achieve for you.
Yeah, I mean, I just sold an 8-figure business that was completely run by virtual assistants. I mean, that we had no office, no US employees. It was me, 35 virtual assistant in the Philippines running all day-to-day operations. And I mean, we broke FreeUp up into 3 different teams. You had recruitment, you had billing, and you had customer service. And each one of those was run by a team leader, virtual assistant in the Philippines that I would put against any US person out there. Chicky Ann handled our recruitment team. She built our interview process. She helped improve it. She's still the team leader there right now. She handles all virtual assistants and freelancers before they get onto the platform. Then you've got Marius, who in billing, who was in charge of billing about $1 million a month in clients of fixed price and hourly, and handling issues that came in and refunds, and make sure that milestones were charged at the right time. And then also doing our books and our monthly reports and communicating with our accountant. So he was handling that. And then we had Jane and Layden, who are actually 2 team leaders in customer service, who could handle everything from the smallest situation to the angriest customer who was just super confused over stuff, to just managing a team. I mean, they had 15 customer service reps in that team that were both managed not by me, not by Connor, but by Jane and Layden, who ran our customer service team. So as you get bigger, you can build up teams that are not 35 people reporting to Nathan. It's 35 people with 3 or 4 team leaders and even assistant team leaders underneath them to create a really good structure for your business.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. So was everyone in the Philippines in the one country, or was it a bit scattered?
Yeah, we hire most virtual assistants from the Philippines. We do hire like graphic designers and developers and stuff from India. My whole thing is like, I like hiring from the Philippines. I think there's some huge advantages to doing it, from cost to them speaking English at a high level to work ethic to family. But you can take anything that we teach people at Outsource School and go hire from anywhere you want. My advice would be, for a new person, 1, hiring from the Philippines is a good start. But 2, if you're going to hire from somewhere, hire everyone from one place, because there's going to be a learning curve. You're going to learn people's cultures. And if you have 2 people from India, 2 people from the Philippines, 2 people from South Africa, you're just adding additional work to your plate of learning all these cultures and getting them to interact. Just stick with one place until you master it more and more.
Plus, the time zones would be a nightmare too if you were doing what you just described as well.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we teach outsourcing, time zone is almost never a factor, because we hire people for either US times or a hybrid of US times or a completely flexible schedule with check-in points. And we're not going to hire people for flexible schedule unless we really mean it's a flexible schedule and we just don't care when they work as long as stuff gets done. So if you need to hire someone US hours or whatever time zone it is, you can hire from the Philippines or anywhere else. It's all about setting the expectations up front and making sure you're 100% on the same page.
Okay, makes sense. It just so happens that here in Perth, it's the same time zone as the Philippines, so it works out pretty
really?
good. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right. So with outsourcing in mind, what are your favorite online tools and platforms that you use to run your business with virtual assistants?
Yeah, Slack is a big one. I mean, people get surprised because we do all our interviews, all our onboarding, all our meetings via Slack. We don't do any video calls or voice calls with virtual assistants unless it's some kind of sales or voice role. So we use the most out of Slack. We use Jira for dealing with developers. We use Trello for project management with our virtual assistants. And a cool tool that I like that has nothing to do with VAs is called WordBoard, where you can preload canned responses and links onto your phone and be able to quickly send them to people.
Okay, that's pretty cool. What's it called?
WordBoard. There's a lot of them out there, but I like WordBoard.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so this is probably a pretty common question that you get. What are some of the biggest and most common mistakes that you see business owners making with outsourced staff?
I think one of the biggest things is onboarding. So I like to say there's 4 steps to hiring. You've got interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing. And most people know you have to interview a VA. Most people know you have to train them and manage them, but everyone forgets to onboard them. And we have an onboarding system called the SICK method, which is SICC, which stands for schedule, issues, communication, and culture. And this is an extra step that comes after the interview process, where we want to hire someone, they had a good interview, where we say, hey, we want to hire you, but first let's spend 20 to 30 minutes making sure that our expectations are in line, making sure that any questions you have get answered. And at the end of it, giving the virtual assistant a chance to back out. And this is one of the best investments you can make, because whenever you hear about issues with VAs, disappearing VAs not being able to work the right schedule, whatever it is, it's almost always because the client skipped that important onboarding process. So the SICK onboarding process is a big part that we teach at Outsourcing School.
Okay, interesting. All right, so with an eye to the future, what are you curious about or researching right now regarding digital marketing and hiring staff?
So I mentioned that we scaled Outsourcing School with this organic marketing blueprint that we believe works. We're doing the same thing already at Outsourcing School. It's how we have 300 plus members already. We've only been around for a few months, but we want to add a paid to ad side to it. We never really did that with FreeUp because FreeUp is just a weird business model, not impossible, but very hard because people can sign up for free. There's no minimums, there's no maximums. People can start and stop all the time. So very tough to track ROI back to Facebook ads, for example. But Outsourcing School, we're selling a membership, so it's a lot easier to do. So we're actually launching our Facebook ads today. We're continuing to build out a funnel. I just recorded a masterclass that we're going to get out very, very soon. So a lot of these tactics that we didn't really use over the past 4 years, although we had a lot of success in digital marketing, we now get to apply on top of the tactics that we kind of created ourselves.
Okay, so speaking of funnels, what's sort of the most common funnel that you'd use in your business?
Yeah, I mean, we're building that out now. So Facebook ads to a masterclass, Facebook ads to a free trial, and then the free trial to upgrade to become a member. And if people want, they can, like, we have other products that are standalone. Like they can buy formulas and playbooks, they can check out our software. But essentially what we want to get it to is either from ads to masterclass to free trial to membership, or skip the free trial and right to the membership.
So the masterclass is just like a webinar, is it? Is it the same thing? Or?
Yeah, similar. It's a webinar. It's probably a little slightly less salesy than a webinar, but I mean, I'm kind of new to the webinar world. So I've been learning. All I've done for the past 2 months is just learn about webinars and master classes. And so I'm trying a few different things. I'm building a webinar too, and we'll split test them and see which one does better.
So are these live webinars or recorded automated webinars?
So the masterclass was recorded, the live webinars. I did one last week to a community. The good thing is we have a lot of partners from our partnership program that is part of our organic marketing blueprint. So when I come up with something like this, I have a lot of different communities I can test it out with. So I had one last week. I have another one tonight that I went back after the webinar last week and I changed a bunch of stuff. So I'm giving that tonight. And I have another one scheduled for Wednesday or Thursday that hope by then I'll probably make even more tweaks. And then eventually, once I get the webinar to a good place, I'll probably record that as well, but I wanted to get that masterclass just out there so we have it, so we can start driving traffic to it while I continue to work and tweak the webinar.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so who are your marketing idols or business idols or the biggest influences in your career?
Right now I'm following Roland Frazier. I'm in his Epic program. Yeah, just learning from him about buying businesses and acquiring assets. I think we'll probably use that for Outsource School at some point. Instead of building everything yourself, there's a lot of great ways to acquire stuff that already exists. And that kind of blew my mind. I almost wish I had found that in between FreeUp and Outsource School, because maybe I would have skipped some steps. But here we are. And now I can kind of use that to bring Outsource School to the next level.
Awesome. All right. So just to wrap up, where can people go to find out more about Outsource School?
Yeah, go to outsourceschool.com. You can grab a free trial of Outsource School Insider. You can grab a free trial of Simply SOP. You can connect with me on social media, Nathan Hirsch, on any social media channel you want. And yeah, you can also schedule a call with us right on the site.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for your time, Nathan. Really appreciate that. And yeah, we'll catch up with you soon.
Sounds good. Have a good rest of the day.
All right. Bye.